It's my feel-good breakfast show.
It's so triumphant.
So epic.
Hey?
The music is so epic. Even his face in the picture is like, whoa,
They're
so
going to
epic.
have to change the music because we're never going to stop
No.
talking about
I'm sorry, man,
No,
but
we
it's
must
like...
never stop talking
because you
about
have a
it.
top knot as well, so you're like guru lawyer.
Guru Thor.
I've been told I'm not allowed to let my hair down during these segments.
Why?
Ladies in makeup, they said.
Ah, no, we're going to do a slow motion hair toss with you at the end of the show.
happen.
We love this guy because he fools us in. We all know that art is an investment, and some people spend time, effort, and lots of money in the interest of collecting and preserving contemporary and some very valuable historic art. The art world can seem exclusive and inaccessible to us plebs, as with most aspects in life, there's a legal framework that governs the art world.
So now recalling once again upon our guru lawyer. Sorry, I meant...
Thor.
Yes, Thor. That's right. Because sometimes you can have some Thor points or sore points, but he's got you covered. Legalese.co.za, that's where he's the director, Eitan Stern, and he's going to answer this question. I want to sell my professional artwork. So now what?
So now what?
Now what?
So now what?
What do I do?
What?
It's a big question.
Thank you. That's it. That's it. We're going to just sit here and you talk. We're going to listen.
Any
Is there
specific
art
questions?
law? Yeah, is there anything a bit more... You went all lawyery there for a second. Is there law that's specific to art?
Okay, cool. So art law, so there isn't a specific segment of law in that you call art law, but it kind of merges a few different areas of law. So there'll be intellectual property aspects that we were talking about earlier, like copyright. There'll definitely be a contract aspect, lots of agreements going on within the art industry. There might be some labor aspects, so it's going to cover a whole lot of different areas of law. But there are lawyers, like us at Legalese, who kind of specialize on this area and like make it their focus. And, you know, in that, you're kind of looking at a whole lot of different things.
Because there's money there, man.
Yeah, of course, there's a lot of money. I've made so many stickmen pictures that I could have sold, but I'm not represented and I'm not signed up with the gallery. Nobody wants to accept it.
Non-fungible, my friend.
I have no idea. I'm going to go
That's what I'm
NFT
saying.
soon. But what are the benefits of actually getting represented by a team like yours, and more importantly, maybe sign up with a gallery so you can start selling?
Okay, cool. So, you know, so I guess within any creative industry, there's always two bits of value.
Yeah.
There's the talent in creating the art. So, you know, maybe the reason you're not getting signed up is, I don't want to say anything about your stickmen, but
better than most.
so there's the talent, and then there's the business side behind it. Often artists are very good at the talent, but don't want to focus on the business side. So a gallery brings two things to the table. Firstly, they can help distribute your art, so actually get it to market, do the sales, and very often the gallery or the manager or the brokers will help with the business side behind the artist's career. So it can be, I say can, not always is, a very good merging, but of course artists should always be weary of just handing over the reins of their career to someone else.
It's the same in music, it's the same
Totally.
in all of the creative fields. You've got to have that, yes, you want to be focused on being creative, but you need to be able to protect your rights in the end.
Being talented, for a very small, very few lucky people in this world, having the talent is enough, and everything kind of works out around you. But for, you know, the vast majority of creatives, you need to be able to manage your business as well as your creative pursuit.
Might even be more important when you think perception is such a big part of the value of art in the end. I need you to break something down for me. An art dealer and an art broker. Is there a difference? What are those two?
I mean, so I'm not sure that there's such a difference. Classically, an art broker, an art dealer would be used to describe a gallery, and an art broker would be someone who's got a specific interest in a specific type of art and brokers those deals. Not much of a difference, but when you're looking at the art world in general, there's going to be different kind of players. There'll be artists and managers, there'll be galleries, there'll be these brokers, and all of these things are people that are standing in the transaction that are going to take their kind of bit.
Because everyone gets a bit of commission.
Everyone gets a bit of commission depending on what value they bring to it, and then the commission's going to differ depending on essentially how much value. So if you're a gallery and you've taken a young artist who's completely unknown to international fame, you're going to want to get a bigger chunk of that pie because you've invested a lot more in it, as opposed to if you are a gallery that's, you know, it's just signed on a very famous artist and they already have fame, and, you know, you're just kind of doing the sales for them, then it's going to be a smaller piece of the pie.
It's good to know though, because my stickman images, they've been it's tough to
I
stop.
feel like
You
you're
might
going to
be-
get picked up from this.
No. What's going to happen
Someone's
is
watching.
you're going to lose an ear, and then about 100 years after your passing,
Right.
suddenly stickmen are going to be
I'm
the
quite
most
curious
valuable
to see
commodity.
the stickman. Is it? How do you do the mohawk and the
It's
stick?
actually just one line
It's just
on
one
top of the
line.
head. Yeah, that's
So it's line.
that's our detail there.
That's all you need, just
That's all I
one
need to the
solid line.
That's it.
Really interesting stuff, and I think vitally important that all creatives kind of think along these lines, because you need to have the business backbone. It doesn't matter how creative, talented you are,
Totally.
at some point you need to be able to manage that business, and you want to be successful, not to just kind of get the acclaim for how good you are, but you want to make some money off it. We're going to continue this very interesting conversation with Thor in just a moment.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
I just want to say 20th Century Fox called. They want the intro back 8 times. Anyway, welcome back to Feel Good Breakfast Show. This is Expresso on S3, and we're continuing our discussion with the lawyer himself, the guru lawyer, Legalese.co.za director, Eitan Stern. And today we're chatting about all of the interesting aspects of the legal ins and outs of the art world.
It's really interesting to me. The more we've spoken about this, the more questions that are coming to mind. I'm going to throw something in here that's a little off brief, but I've just been thinking about this. So you're an artist. You paint this amazing painting that then becomes really valuable, and you sell it to someone else, and they sell it on, and eventually it's worth 57 million rand. Does the artist ever get any of that 57 million rand once he's sold that painting?
So it's a fascinating thing. So in one way, no, they don't, right? Like that, once it's sold, it's sold.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, that's what we talked about last week, NFTs.
Yeah.
That's the value in it, because built into the transaction, you can make sure the artist always gets something. But in another way, the value of art...
Suddenly his paintings are worth 57 million.
Exactly. So artists work very hard to maintain themselves in a specific price bracket. You don't want to underprice yourself, and you don't want to put yourself, your pricing outside of your own market. So if an artist is having something worth 57 million, they're going to have something else worth, a lot of money. So it builds their career. So I wouldn't cry for any artist that's having something sold for 57 million. At the same time, no, they don't get any value.
So maybe the matchstick men, the key is you've been pricing yourself out of the game.
Yeah,
That's also true.
Have you been charging people?
You
too
know,
much
it's
for
an
that?
A4 piece of paper,
Okay.
and I used blue pen that I found in my drawer, and I'm going like 50,000 or so.
Okay, it's a lot.
Is it a lot?
It
But
might
I
be
mean,
a
it's
bit too much.
is it a bit
Like
okay?
50.
I mean, at least I know now.
Maybe someone today, maybe you're going to get a tweet to say someone's interested.
But let's just, I mean, to your point now with regard to how it's resold and resold, sometimes you get a beautiful original artwork, and then it gets botched somehow.
Yes.
Somebody spoils it or ruins it, and now you have to look at this thing, and then somebody does a restoration, which is poor. At these moments, whose fault is that when it comes to the instances of poor restoration? And in those spots, I'm sure you want to get it done. You want to get it repaired.
Sure.
But you want to do it in such a way that it increases the value so it looks like a proper repair of an original. I want to know how that whole process works.
So it's a fascinating question. It's actually, I'm dealing with a matter like that literally at the moment.
Okay.
So with restoration, with anything in law, whoever's at fault and does something wrong is the one that has to essentially pay for it. So restoration, restorers are dealing with damaged artwork, so they're already dealing with something damaged. So generally, it's going to be hard to prove that the restorer was to blame for any further damage. But if you can show that the restorer maybe left the artwork out, so it got damp,
negligence,
was negligent, did something, it's hard to prove, but if you could prove they did something which damaged the art, then they would be to blame. And if you can't, then you're going to have to repair it.
Okay.
But that is why whenever or most transactions, but certainly if you are leaving something valuable with someone else, if you're taking art to the store to get repaired, even if you're taking your computer to a repair shop, it's very important that you sign, that you look at their terms and conditions, and that's going to say what they're going to be liable for, and that you sign it, and that you understand what you're in for and what you're not. And if you are just giving something of value over to someone else, you got to make sure either you're insured or they're insured, or you got to think about what's going to happen if this thing gets damaged further.
A great way to look after the art, obviously give it to the professionals, those that look after it the best, like a gallery or like the Louvre, for instance, that houses probably the most valuable art collection in the world, I would imagine, including the Mona Lisa. How does that agreement work? Who's liable for what?
So the Mona Lisa is an interesting one. The Mona Lisa is actually owned by the state of France. It was bought by King so-and-so.
Let them eat cake.
They can eat a lot of cake with that painting. I mean, it's essentially a priceless painting. But it's owned by the state of France, and they house it in the Louvre. So a lot of art, some art will get housed in private collections where only the owners can see it, and other people will want their art to be on display for the public to see it. So whoever owns the art can essentially decide where it's displayed. So a lot of famous paintings have been loaned or just put on display in the Louvre. So it's, you know, so something like a Da Vinci is not just enjoyed by one person, but by many. But there certainly would be Da Vincis out there that sit in people's private collections.
Do you know anything about the second Mona Lisa?
I know not much. No, I know that there's the Mona Lisa has had a hell of a history to it. It's been stolen a few times.
Yeah.
There's been other ones that have been claimed to be the original. I don't know a fortune about it. I'm not an art historian. But yeah, I know that painting has got a hell of a history behind it.
And there's actually an image on now of the two Mona Lisas. One of them obviously has been, an Instagram filter has been applied to it on the left, and then original on the right.
I wish there was a third one of a stick figure.
It should be, because that would have been the one that I would have sold for 50,000 Rand. But I mean, it's crazy. But just in closing, if you're an artist and you think you've got some talent and skill, get representation, possibly get an affiliation with a gallery, and you'll be protected, correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, the person that's going to protect you best is yourself, but, you know, if you're an artist, your work is your thing of value, so you need to manage your career, put the right people in place in order to make sure that you get to market, get paid, and have a longevity of your career.
Beautiful.
Find yourself a good lawyer with great hair, man.
Yes.
That's where it all starts. If you're interested in a private viewing of any of Carl's artwork, his Stick Figure Men going now for what, 45,000?
I'm gonna go 42 for you.
42,599 Rand.
Perfect.
Get it at a
Expresso.
steal. Eitan, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much
Thanks,
for that.
guys.